Sawadee Krap and welcome to another episode here for the Funky Pod, Mindful Media and Communication. And no, this is not an old video or anything. I'm still wearing my Germany Euro 2024 football jersey loud and proud. A, because, well, I bought it, so I'm going to wear it. And B, I don't only support my team if they're winning. I only support them when they're losing. Or so I also support them when they are doing well, uniting generations, uniting countries, and just having a good time. That's I can also support, I think. But this is not what we're going to talk about today. So don't be fooled by the football jersey. We're talking about something more serious. We're talking about something more intimate. Teaser cliffhanger. We're talking about love, relationships, communication within those confines of relationships, partnerships, if you will. I did an episode before, if you're a listener of this podcast, you know, on like dating, like more like a dating app breakdown, like how do dating apps work from a media point of view. So today I want to focus on how does communication within relationships actually work? Like which kind of theories apply? Which theories could we be aware of to maybe be a little bit better at communicating or a bit more mindful when we communicate? Because, hey, mindful media and communication is our tagline, right? So, and I'm going to throw a few theories right at you because that's what we do, right? And you want to learn something. I guess that's why you're listening. So here you go. One of the most basic communication theories, communication models, is one of the basic ones because it's been being taught like in, I guess, every intro class to communication. And there's a reason why it's been taught, because it's so crucial, so important. So I'm also going to throw this one at you, okay? It's called the Shannon-Weaver model of communication, okay? So I'm going to apply this to dating relationships, of course, right? So in the dating world, so first of all, before I go into the dating world, so the Shannon-Weaver model of communication is like, it suggests that, okay, we have a sender of the message, we have a receiver of the message, then we have that message that we're sending that goes from A to B, and we have a channel, like the way we're sending it, okay? And then there is like noise from the outside coming, disrupting the transmission of that message. So if I say something to you, right, this might be a very simple message actually, but you could understand this message in many, many different ways, shapes, forms, whatever, right? So it could depend on the channel that I'm using. If I'm using social media, for example, then there will be lots of noise. You're scrolling through Reels, through TikTok, whatever. Your mind is occupied, so I might have a good intention, for example, but then you don't understand it. Or the other way around, like who knows? Yeah. So there are many different ways that influence the message that goes from A to B. Just because I say it and I think I know what I want to say doesn't mean that you will understand it in the same way. So we got to be aware of this if you're communicating, right? That even though I say something in my mind it's nice, the other person might understand it differently. Okay, why? Because again, that message travels from A to B, and via whatever channel you're using, be it your WhatsApp, your Line, your IG, a letter, a carrier pigeon, whatever it might be. If you're living in Game of Thrones, a dragon, there is lots of noise. If you're using a dragon, right, it might be like then those. What are they called? Those people in the eyes and stuff, right? And people shooting arrows at you. That's like, lots of noise. If you're using social media, there will be then just your friends texting you all the time, saying things about whatever, right? So noise, okay? Noise distracts and noise makes us change or influence our perception of the message, okay? So when it comes to dating, for example, right? So you're the sender, you're the person that initiates the communication, this example, right? So it could be anything from like, hey, you want to go grab dinner, to maybe a more complex expression of your feelings, right? This could be a text, a call, social media, face-to-face interaction, and then the receiver, your potential partner / date, will receive that message. And the noise, what I just said earlier, right, can influence the way that receiver understands the message. And in dating or relationships in particular, I think, like, there could be physical noise, like actual noise if you're in a bar, for example, which makes it just hard to understand each other. There could be friends around, for example, so you can't be as open because maybe like I'm a more shy person. So this is physical noise. But there's also what we call in communication studies semantic noise, like misunderstanding due to slang or cultural references, for example, right? So if you have a multicultural relationship, for example, like I'm German, for example, right? Very like not good at reading clues because we're used to like telling people exactly what's gonna happen, and so that's semantic noise, okay? And there's also psychological noise, and I think no one is immune of psychological noise, right? It's like preconceptions, anxieties, past experiences that all affect how we interpret that message that's coming to us, right? Because we interpret things based on experience that we had, prior experience, be it via our own anxiety, be it via past experiences or whatnot. Okay, so that's the Shannon and Weaver model of communication applied to dating, right? So in this example, like you, the sender, texts your date, the receiver. Like, for example, we need to talk in a message via whatever, WhatsApp, Line, whatever you're using. Your intention is to discuss, for example, to define the relationship, but your date's anxiety, right, like psychological noise, anxiety, right, leads them to assume the worst, like, oh my god, they wanna break up, okay, right? Then, okay, I'm gonna break up with you first, I don't need you, and then it's all going out of this spiraling and going down that road, right? So that's why it's important to understand that, like, what was the intention behind the message? Did that person really mean to sound all worried or what's happening, right? And that, I mean, the thing is, of course, no love doctor here, but obviously that gets better with the more you know each other, obviously, right? Okay. So that's the Shannon-Weaver model of communication. Okay, like one of the basic communication models you learn in communication studies applied to dating. The second one I brought you is called nonverbal communication. You all heard of that, of course, and nonverbal communication is actually a big part when it comes to communication studies as well. We analyze, we try to understand, like, how do people communicate in a nonverbal way, like body language, for example, right? So nonverbal communication is actually the majority of communication we're doing each and every day. That's why understanding cues from nonverbal communication is so important, okay? So this is actually very often more important than what's actually said, in my opinion, especially in the early dating stages, right? And there's like an application to this, which is then called kinesics. I'll break it down, okay? So first step here is defined as the eye contact. Okay, so prolonged eye contact, for example, could mean like indicate interest, right? Could be like intimacy, like I really want to know more about you. Like smiling, genuine smiles, that's important, like not like fake smiles, like that involves like the eye muscles. So you can see when someone actually smiles because the eyes are smiling. It's not just a saying, the eyes are actually smiling. Okay, that shows then, of course, enjoyment, interaction, and so on. Mirroring is one of the things that is big when we talk about communication models, because mirroring means it's like that you unconsciously mimic your date's posture, gestures. That kind of indicates rapport. It's not like to make fun of the other person. It's like more like automatic to be like, oh, I want to build rapport. I want to like make you feel comfortable, make you feel at home. So like when for example, you're leaning on a chair or on a table and then you're leaning too, right? So that's like called mimicking to increase the rapport that you want to have with your partner, which is actually something good, right? So mirroring actually helps to make the other person more comfortable. Usually that works rather subconsciously. If you can do it actively, then you're probably a good salesperson, for example. Touch, of course, I mean, that's a no-brainer. Like light touches on the arm, the back, and whatnot can signal like attraction. But you notice here, also from a personal point of view, respect personal space. It's very important, though. Don't be like, I want to show you that I like you and touch you everywhere. That's, of course, not what you should be doing, right? So always respect personal space. Very important when it comes to communication as well. If you invade my personal space, I might back up. Right, so it's very important when it comes to nonverbal communication as well. So besides the kinesics part, there's also proxemics. Okay, proxemics is what is defined as, like, for example, like the intimate space. Yeah. So intimate space, there are different forms of space. So intimate space is the closest one, of course, from like 0. Hey, it's a safer work podcast. Behave from 0 to like 18 inches apart. Okay, that's like usually reserved for very, very close relationships. If a date or partner enters in this space, this usually signals obviously very strong attraction. And if you go from 18 inches to 4 feet, that's what that's usually for conversation between friends or like early dates, right? We call this the personal space. Okay, so we have intimate space, personal space, and the space that I don't have, we call it social space, which is like 4 to 12 feet according to research papers, right? So this is more for like formal group interactions. Like if a date that you're on, for example, consistently maintains like this distance, they might not feel as attracted to you as you would like to, probably. So respect space. Not only with dates, by the way, just in all kind of social interactions, space is a very big communicating factor. So if someone backs away from you and keeps it on a distance, you know you should respect that. Okay, so space, very important factor when it comes to non-verbal communication. So if you're on a first date and your date is leaning in when you speak, maintaining eye contact, and maybe then even touches your arm here and there, and then you see that, oh, wow, maybe my date kind of like, I'm getting excited. My date kind of likes me, okay? So understanding non-verbal communication, very, 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 very important. Not only for does he, she, it, they, them like me, but also do I need to back off for a little? Maybe I'm coming on too strong, for example. So read those cues. They're very important. Like non-verbal communication matters. It's very, very, very important. Okay. A third one I brought you. Media richness theory. Now you're like, media richness, doesn't it mean lots of media in my face? Kinda. I think it's very important in the digital age that we're in, right? So how does this apply to dating? So there are different forms of media that you can use to communicate. The richest of them all, like the most in your face kind of media, in a positive way, is, okay, that was not smooth, is face-to-face communication, right? So important communications obviously should happen face-to-face. Okay, so defining relationships, resolving conflicts, whatever. This allows for immediate feedback, right? It's sometimes hard to get immediate feedback, but sometimes it's just necessary, right? Also, it conveys like tone, facial expression, body language, and so on. So it's not too hard to understand the other person's intention compared to channels where you don't see each other, right? So it's easier to actually convey what you really mean. Tell me what you really feel, how you really feel, right? And another one could be like video calls, for example. There are some research papers that call it like a close second to face-to-face. I don't think it's a close second, but I think it's probably second, right, to face-to-face. If you're in an LDR, for example, like when meeting isn't possible, you still want to have like some form of intimacy or of directness, then you would go for video calls. And the next could be phone calls, for example, right? If you want to have still some personal conversations, so texting doesn't cut it. As an example, I hate calls except of with specific people, of course, right? So maybe you want to have to say like, hey, wait, I'm going to call you before you call your date, for example. You've been out once and you keep calling all the time. Maybe that's not the go-to move because it's still a little bit more intimate, of course, than texts, right? So maybe better than just send a text to check in, to make plans and whatnot. So it really depends on like what kind of message you want to send. This research that I read in regards to also prepare for this podcast also suggested, and now like hold on to your seats or to your handle in the train or wherever you're listening, they also suggested that you're using email in communication with your dates. I think if you're emailing your date, maybe it's time for both of you to move on, unless it's like a reservation or something, obviously, right? So, okay, so that's just the richness, media richness theory, just showcasing the like different forms of communication. They carry different value, and hence different topics suit different forms of communication better, obviously. Okay, now I'm going to bring you one. I'm going to move it to now. I had it at the very end of my notes, but I'm going to move it up now. because I think it's kind of interesting. So there's a research that's called gender-elect styles by Tennant's gender-elect styles. And it's quite generalizing, actually. But as we know, generalizations and stereotypes, they are often based on, well, some form of truth. So before you cancel me, listen to me, and then I'm going to try to make sense of it, okay? So the gender-elect styles theory suggests that there are different forms of talk that men and women are doing. Okay, yes, there are more sexes, I understand. Let me explain first. The theory is a little bit older, so they weren't that aware of that yet. We will apply it, okay? So the first form of communication that they analyze in the study is called report talk. So they say, okay, when we look at like how different genders, gender-elect styles, communicate in relationships, in dating and so on, they say, okay, men very often focus on report talk. So they focus on exchanging information, establishing status, and they want to solve problems. So that means that they might talk more about achievements, for example, about skills, or like factual topics a lot. Very, very often they're less likely to share personal feelings or emotional experiences. Because that's what that report suggests. Okay? Report talk, more on the man side of things. Again, don't cancel me just yet. Cancel me at the end of the podcast. I will need you to listen to it. Then, in contrary to the report talk, we have the rapport talk, which is more often associated with women, which means they emphasize more on building connections, sharing experiences, more likely to discuss like relationships, personal stories, maybe even emotions. And when it comes to language, they might use more qualifiers and more indirect language. Okay, so that's like what the gender-elect study, gender-elect theory suggests by Tannen, not by me. I did not come up with that. Okay, don't cancel me just yet. So, like for example, after a date, like one person might say the restaurant had great reviews and the wine list was like pretty extensive, right? So that's more report talk. Okay, but the other person might say, I felt so comfortable with you and I loved how you listened to my stories, which is more like a rapport talk. Both express enjoyment in different styles. Now, having that said, I do understand, and hope you do too, that this is not just depending on gender, obviously. So the study tried to focus on gender. We throw the gender out now. We talked about rapport talk and report talk, and we simply take away from this that different people have different forms of communication. Some focus more on the rapport talk, some focus more on the report talk. That might not only be a gender thing, it might be like, where did you grow up? Grew up in Germany, probably more a report kind of talk person, okay? Grew up somewhere with a big family, with like in a safe environment, maybe more a rapport kind of person, okay? So different communication styles. Doesn't mean one is better than the other, just means people communicate in different ways. And if you understand that, then there's no reason for us to misunderstand it. So if you say, hey, how did you like our date? And you're like, yeah, the restaurant was really cool and the wine was also great. Doesn't mean that the person didn't enjoy the time with you. It just means they're used to a different form of communication. And so you have to either dig deeper, accept it, find different ways to communicate. Okay, so if you understand that, then you can understand your date, your partner, whatever. Okay, rapport talk, report talk. Okay. I also... And this next theory I tell my students about all the time because they never do it in class. So it's also important when it comes to like romantic relationships. Active listening. And yeah, I know. Oh, this is so easy. Yeah. Wait. Will you really do it? I'm going to break down for you what active listening actually entails. And then you tell me in the comments, social media @FunkitPod, or like in the review for the podcast, because reviews really help. You will tell me if you actually do that. It's not just listening, because the most important thing about listening is not listen to respond, it's you should listen to understand. And I think that's what many people do not understand. And so I'm going to break it down for you so that you will be better at understanding, not at responding. Okay, so active listening. Here we go. Step number 1. Give full attention. This means, put away your phone when you listen to someone. Okay, focus on the person that is next to you, opposite you, whatever. This should be a no-brainer in any communication, in particular with your date, your partner, whatever, right? In romantic relations. This should be a no-brainer. Hand in hand with that, take your earphones out of your ears. This is a thing that drives me nuts when people talk, not only to me, because people, like, no one talks to me with the earphones in, because if they keep the earphones in, I'm not talking to them. But seeing people on the street talking to each other with their earphones, what is wrong with you? Take your earphones out. Yeah, I switched off the music. Yeah, great, you still have something in your ear so you can listen. So take it out. Okay, turn off the music, whatever, unless it's my podcast, I keep listening. Yeah, priorities in the world. But give full attention. The other person deserves it, and you want it too, right? If you don't give full attention, you will be distracted. No matter how much you care about the other person, that thing in your hand, your phone, get your mind out of the gutter, it's your phone. That thing in your hand will distract you. Okay, there will be notifications, it will buzz, it will make a noise, whatever. You will be distracted, so put it away. Okay, give full attention. Number one. Number two, non-verbal feedback, nodding, appropriate facial expressions, maintaining eye contact. Those are things that are important, and I feel, talking to younger students like on a daily, that got a bit lost. Also, of course, pandemic kids, like, it's hard if you don't go out and don't have any interaction. I get it, but just try. Okay, if you have serious communication with your professor or also with your significant others, give them all the attention and use non-verbal cues. Show them that you're listening. Okay, that's important, because you know it yourself. If someone shows that they're listening, they're actively listening, they're nodding, like, oh yeah, okay, okay, then you know, hey, they're able to understand what I'm saying, and they're ready for more. Okay. Verbal affirmations here and there, short responses like, I'm just laughing because, like, Thailand is a very verbal country in a sense that, like, there are lots of noises in daily communication, like, so that's why I'm laughing. But yeah, that does help. You know it, right? You tell a story and people go like, oh, I see. Then you keep going. So pay attention, non-verbal cues, verbal affirmations can help to show that you're actually engaged. Paraphrasing things, repeating back some key points to ensure that you understand what they're saying, but also to let them know that you're paying attention, right? So you don't have to paraphrase everything. You're like, okay, let me recap this. No, but just like a few key points. Also, what you're saying is, okay, I got it. Yeah, okay, next, continue. Okay, got it. I understand. Okay, that's very, very helpful. Having that said, of course, you shouldn't interrupt any times. Do not interrupt I was about to say opponent. It's not your opponent, your significant other, your professor, whoever you're talking to, but we are about dates right now, so don't interrupt your date to make it about yourself. Show that you're, like, processing the information, but let them finish the story. So, affirmations are great. So, okay, this got it. Okay, please continue. That's okay. But don't be like, okay, yeah, same thing happened to me when, then you go on a rant. Okay, don't do that. It's not about you. You're listening, and later the roles will be reversed. Okay, so that is very important. Okay. Example, your date's telling you about the recent promotion, for example. So you listen actively, you maintain eye contact, you nod along, and you ask, hey, cool, that sounds pretty challenging though. How did you feel when you got those news? So show that you're engaged. Should be a no-brainer. I feel like an old person saying this, but this generation has lost it. Okay, so moving on. I hope active listening makes sense. So do this in relationships. Do this also with your professors at university. And if you do it, tell them you heard about this on this podcast. Okay, cool. Like and subscribe. Okay. Almost there. I think I have only two more, then we're there. It's like in class, two more things. Like Steve Jobs used to do the one more thing, two more things. I obviously assume that if you listen to my my five-step plan to a happy relationship, foldable poster here, then you will never run into any conflicts. But in case you didn't listen and you run into a conflict, here, conflict resolution. Okay, conflict resolution theory in early dating. So, ways that people usually try to resolve conflict. Step number one, or not step, like way number one that is being chosen a lot, is the competing approach. And you try to be assertive and like uncooperative, like dominant. Okay, like We are going to this restaurant. I picked it. It's awesome. We go there. Let's hope no one ever dates a person like this. But we you know what I'm saying, right? Sometimes they're like very competing characters in a relationship. Like, I know better. I prepared. I figured everything out. Just follow me. Okay, that's the competing. Like, I know what's best. You're welcome, right? That's like a competing approach to resolve conflicts, to win a conflict. Let's call it what it is, right? And if someone wants to win a conflict, do you want to be with a person? Probably not. Okay, so a competing approach. Second approach, the accommodating approach. It's like a bit more unassertive and cooperative, but it's like, we know those people. They're up to you. Whatever you want, really. I don't. Whatever you want is fine. It's fine. No, it's fine. I'm fine. Then it's important to be able to really listen and to catch the cues. Like, is he, she, it, they, them, there, sir, really fine, and just want to be with me, or are they like, yeah, well, I'm fine. Yeah, so it's important to understand how we communicate. Shannon viewer model again, non-verbal communication again. Okay, it's very important here. There's also the avoiding approach to conflict, unassertive, uncooperative. So the accommodating one is unassertive but cooperative. Like, okay, don't really mind. Right? Again, depends how you say it. Don't really mind whatever you feel today. Like, I'm okay. I'm up for anything. Okay. Unassertive and uncooperative, changing the subjects when disagreements arise. Okay, you want to go there? No, I don't want to go there. Okay. So what? How was work? Okay, yeah, but right. Still not making a decision. That's avoiding. Okay, unassertive, uncooperative. Changing the subject as soon as disagreements arise. Does it help? No. Does it help in the moment? Yeah. Until the next moment comes that brings conflict with it. Right? Okay, then two more. There's the collaborating approach, which is like more assertive and cooperative. Hey, okay, cool. You like this, I like that. I'm not sure if I'm really happy, but hey, let's figure this out. Okay, so you're feeling like this today, I feel like that today. Let's see where we can both find something for us. Okay, that's the collaborating approach. Assertive, let's figure it out, but also cooperative, right? So I'm not going to just say whatever. I'm going to be like, hey, I don't feel like this today, but maybe find something else together. Okay, so collaborating. And then secondly, here is the compromising approach. It's like moderately assertive, like a little, and cooperative. It's like, how about we go to your choice this time, and then tomorrow we go to my restaurant, for example. I'm sticking with the restaurant example, right? It's an easier, I understand, but it's a compromising. Hey, today this, tomorrow that, for example. Right? Finding the right kind of compromise. Nice too. Okay, so there are different ways. Again, competing, accommodating, avoiding, collaborating, compromising. Pick the right one. Okay. Example. You're talking with your date. You want to go dancing because you can dance if you want to. You can leave your friends behind. And your date wants to see a movie, for example. Minions, for example. I heard it's great. Or yes, so Minions 17. So the competing style might insist on dancing. Like, no, I think today is really good for dancing because we didn't do any sports the last 2 days. Let's dance, and so on, right? An accommodating style would like agree to the movie. Like, okay, cool, whatever is good for you, good for me too. An avoiding style might be like, let's decide later. We still got time. Let's decide later. And then it happens like, oh, we didn't make any decision. Let's just stay home. The collaborating style might suggest finding a place that offers both dancing and a movie. And a compromising style would be like, okay, movie today, dancing the next time. Okay? Okay, cool. Now, last but not least, get your minds out of the gutter again. And I know I talked about this theory many a times, but it's funny. It has a funny name, and it just fits here very well. It's the social penetration theory. And no, my 16-year-old self is not coming out today. So the social penetration theory, SPT, in the house, suggests that, okay, in relationships deepen through self-disclosure, right? So the more you let go of yourself, the more you share of yourself, the deeper the relationship gets. In dating, this could look like this. So first we have like what we call like an outer layer. Like first few dates, you share basic information, job, hobbies, general preferences, and so on. It's the outer layer, okay? Getting to know. Then we dive deeper, the middle layer, okay, as dating progresses. Discussing things like family backgrounds, for example, past relationships, personal goals, what are your dreams, and so on. Then we come to the inner layer. It's like when the relationship gets deeper, right? You share your fears, your insecurities, like some deeply held beliefs. You're, okay, now I feel safe enough to share this all with you, okay? And then if you continue, if you're lucky enough to have someone that doesn't run away after he, she, it, they, them, there saw your inner layer, you might let them actually see the core, right? And the core is then like in the very intimate relationship, you share your most private thoughts, your most private experiences, and all your vulnerabilities, okay? That's the social penetration theory. In dating, again, you have the outer layer, the middle layer, the inner layer, and the core, okay? So in an example, I think on the first date, you're going to share your job, for example, your favorite movie kind of types, I guess. By the fifth date, you might discuss your relationship with your parents. And after several months, you might share, because, taking it slow is obviously smart. After several months, you might share your deepest fears, past traumas, and so on. This is just a gradual deepening of like personal disclosure. It builds like intimacy, trust, and so on over time. And it usually takes lots of time, not just like 1 or 2 months or so. It takes like a long time usually. Okay. Having that all said, right, I fixed all your relationships right now, so you're welcome. Let me know what you think is the most important part of communicating in relationships, of course. It would be very interesting to hear. @FunkitPod on social media. Leave reviews wherever you listen to the podcast, because it really helps it to reach a wider audience, and also helps me to know what you like, what you don't like. Until then, as always, stay safe, keep calm, carry on, take care, embrace love, be nice to each other. Until then, sawadee ka.